Well, here I am live, and my mom's opening the door of my studio. Mom, what do you need?
I just, I didn't know you were
I'm
on.
live. What do you want, Mom?
Did you feed?
I just gave the kitty wet. I haven't given her any
Okay.
dry. So we had to make sure to check that the cat was doing okay. Here we have our priorities here at MBR. Either way, so I wanted to kind of just give people a chance to hop on because many of you probably haven't gotten your notifications yet that I'm live, including myself. No, actually, I just did get the notification, and I just want to let everybody know, give people some channel updates. I wanted to know. Let's rock and roll, Kolby. You've been all over this week. Yeah. So Sandy Stone, I'm actually going to preview an interview that I did just 24 hours ago with Kolby, who is going to be now probably be released this Tuesday. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the interview I did with Kolby Reddish last night. And I want to talk about some other interviews that I'll be doing. And I also just want to kind of give a recap over the last couple weeks, but it's because it's been kind of crazy, to be honest with you, crazy times here at MBR. And I'm just giving another few seconds here and I'll get started. First of all, I'm assuming you guys can hear me. If you're in the chat, let me know that the sound is okay and how my feed is. Also, if you want to ask any questions of me in the live chat, this is the time to do it. This is a real interactive time of the week. I love conversing with the audience. It's actually fun to do it real time live. Now, most people watch this after I've live streamed, and I typically try to do a late live stream just about every Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 8 p.m. here in Florida. And I know there's some people in England. There's an individual in England that stays up to watch often. So maybe they'll hop on too. So first of all, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about last weekend. And that was the church. I live in a Christian community here near Lakewood Ranch, Florida, and which is in the Tampa Bay area. And the Church of Jesus Christ, also known as the Bickertonites, had their Southeastern Regional Conference at my Christian community this past weekend. So here at Book of Mormon, Spirit-filled Book of Mormon believers who love Jesus and love the Bible, and there were about 150 of them here at my community, and so I got spend some time with them. And my mom and my 101-year-old missionary prophetess friend Yanni also attended, and she loved it. And she said it reminded her of the old days and the early days of the charismatic renewal movement, which, of course, that's what my mom had mentioned the first time she had attended a Bickertonite service as well. And I definitely think I tell people that the Church of Jesus Christ is the April 6, 1830 church. It is primitive Mormonism, if you will. And I say that in the best sense of the term. And so last weekend, they also had a big conference in Murray, Utah, and the church. And Josh Gailey was there, and he was one of the speakers. And he tells me that the interest that is generating it, he says in the when they were doing their I think almost monthly things, they said there were a lot of people who were just kind of curious, checking it out, and just almost as an intellectual, like scholarly pursuit. But he said now more and more they're having people driving long distances who are very seriously considering being baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ. So that's an interesting development. And so they had about, I think he said on Sunday, I don't know if it was Sunday morning or Saturday night, but I think in one of the services they had like over 50 adults, and then not counting the children. So they're starting to really pick up out there in Utah. And I hear that their Idaho branch is doing really well as well. And I just bring this up because I also invited two Mormon missionaries, elders came, and there was a new one who had just came from Las Vegas or from Nevada, and he's been on the service for a week. So he just started his mission a week ago. Now it'd be 2 weeks ago. And so one of the first things I did was when I met him, I gave him a Bickertonite Book of Mormon. So these are from your Pentecostal Book of Mormon believing cousins based in Pennsylvania. And so since September, every missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has received a Book of Mormon from an evangelical. Isn't that funny? That's great. And so I loved it. And so I had a wonderful time worshiping with them. Got to speak with a lot of people. Actually, even talked a little bit about Chief Mitiga with them. They had some questions about it, and of course, we broke the story here at Mormon Book Reviews when he was baptized. And so it's just been it was a great time. Like I was telling people before, I'd have to go to the Church of Jesus Christ, and the closest one is like an hour and a half away. So this weekend, the Church of Jesus Christ came to me, and it was a real blessing to hang out with the people of that church. I wanted to also just talk about an interview I did earlier this week with Ted Turner and Charlotte Gwalt, and it's called The Tornado's Daughter. Now, it didn't get a whole lot of views, and I feel bad because it's a really good story. And I mean, when I say good, it's can be encouraging and faith promoting for people, especially people who are and all going into adulthood. And by the time she was 20 or 21, she had 5 kids. It's just quite a long, harrowing story. And she was molested by many men in her life. Her father mistreated her. She's got a very difficult relationship with her mother and her sister. I would encourage people to check out the interview with The Tornado's Daughter. And I also want you to check out the book. It's a good read. It's powerful. My mom read it when she was during her rehab, and she was just so impressed with the story of Charlotte. It can be a difficult read, but it can be very inspiring to people who are going through difficult times. So I wanted to just recommend people check out that interview and check out the book. Also, I just wanted to also talk a little bit about Kolby Reddish, who him and I have gotten to be good friends. He's this last night around this time we wrapped up taping my most recent interview with him. We were talking about Austin Fife's Light and Truth letter. And what it was in particular was Kolby's response to Austin's interview on my channel. And so I think it was an important interview. I think we cover a lot of territory. It's about an hour and 10, 15 minutes long. It's definitely worth checking out. Kolby is a very smart person. He has spent over 24, he and RFM have done 24 hours worth of not 24 hours of podcasting on the RFM's platform, Radio Free Mormon, which of course, is tied in with Mormon Discussions Inc. And they've done 24 hours of actual podcasting, and Kolby says probably another 100 hours of research on top of that. So that's just crazy, the amount of work and effort. And honestly, if I wrote a book and somebody put that much work and effort into it, I would be honored and privileged to that they took the time to actually do that. And I'm hoping that Austin will be able to come on my program with Kolby. That would be a really cool thing. So let's see what happens. I'm hoping that this conversation we had will lay the groundwork for Austin to come on the program and have a conversation about epistemology. How does one determine truth? How does one find the truth? These are important discussions that can, I think, be helpful to everybody. So Sandy Stone's the only person that's been chatting in here. But if there's anybody else that would like to chat, or if you have any questions or comments, please, this is the time to do it. And if you want to make a donation to Mormon Book Reviews and get a shout out in the super chat, that's always appreciated well. So if you want to give $1.99 or whatever, $50, it doesn't matter to me. I don't do this for the money, but it does help when people show that they care and they make a donation. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, Sandy Stone, that would be awesome to facilitate a conversation. I've been very intrigued since Austin was on your podcast. Yeah, and I like Austin. I do. And I think that it's important to kind of get a better understanding where he's coming from. I think we need to be charitable towards each other. I think all sides need to be. I do get grieved when I see all this fighting going on, and I think sometimes it's unnecessary. Sometimes you got to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you got to stand up for your beliefs, and that's fine. But I also think that it can be done in a more in just a more civil way, and that's what we're trying to do, is facilitate civil conversations here at Mormon Book Reviews. And see, let me think what else was going on here. Oh, I did also want to talk about a little bit Fontaine and Hannah Judd. Let me just make sure I get, oh yeah, okay, great. Fontaine and Hannah Judd, who I did the interview with, the Crazy Train interview. I had a good conversation with them the other day. They have been making some progress to get their story out there. Kurt Weber says, hi, Steve. Hey, Kurt, good to see you. And Kurt, I'm assuming it's the same Kurt that I know. And if it is, give me the update on what the latest is when I can have you back on my program. If it's the same Curtis Weber, I think it is. Fontaine and Hannah, in case for those of you who don't know, they produced a YouTube series, about 24 episodes that released a few months ago, in which they were talking about some of what they perceived as harassment and things that were going on in their local ward and stake level, that they wanted to put out to let people know what was going on, that they felt that they were being a lot of gossip and that their reputations were being harmed. And they felt like if they put out this series, The Crazy Train, on YouTube, that it would let the brethren know that something was going on, something wasn't quite right at their ward, and that the brethren would step in and put a stop to what was happening to them. Well, instead, they received a letter from Curtin McConkie to basically say they're not going to be allowed to go on church property. So Dan Vogel asks, when is Kolby coming on? So I just want to let you know, Dan, that I taped just about 24 hours ago. I wrapped up an interview with Kolby, and this Tuesday it will be released. So this is a preview just to let people know that Kolby, I taped an interview with him, and he's going to respond to Austin Fife's response. And by the way, Dan, I want to make it also let you know that your name is brought up in the conversation and that you should be given some credit for making some changes to Austin. Oh no, to not Austin, but Jacob Hansen as well. So we do talk a little bit about Jacob Hansen in the interview as well. So okay, so I just want to first of all, everybody put the like button so this gets out in front of more people as well. That's how the algorithm works. I really hate begging for things on this channel. If you want to make a donation, get a shout out in the chat, that's great. But again, I'm here just to give you guys my weekly Friday night live stream where I interact with the audience and just kind of give updates of what's going on here at the channel. Also, for those of you, Dan, just a quick question. I'd love to have you back on soon too. It's been a while. Love to have you back on. You're such an important voice in restoration, and I bring you up all the time to people, and your work is so important. And so I'm honored and privileged to have had you on my program a few times, and it's been a really great journey that I've had with you, and I miss talking to you, man. So let's talk soon. Then let's see. I'm also going to be interviewing, hopefully, Stefan Traeger and Kyle Bashirs, and about some work that a presentation they gave last month at BYU about regarding evangelical responses in the 19th, starting with the 19th century up to the 20th, evangelical responses to Mormonism that are more, kinder than what is normal. And I think that that's a great contribution they're making. And Dan Vogel says, just about any time. Great. I'd love to have you on, Dan. That'd be awesome. And so I'm going to probably be taping an interview with them, hopefully in the next week or two. I've been talking to a few other people about some interesting stories. And of course, I got a few authors that want to come on. And so for those of you who would like to make any recommendations for topics you'd like for me to cover, also, you could put it in the comments or you could put it in the chat right now, guests you'd like for me to have on. I just always love getting feedback from people. It's like I said, these are very interesting times. I also want to, speaking of which, hopefully this will be a breakthrough. And this is going to be a short session. I just wanted to give everybody a quick update. Next month now, starting tomorrow, will be next month, I'm going to hopefully get out to the Church of Jesus Christ General Conference in April of next month, April 5th and 6th. And that will be the first time I will have flown since I've had my condition with my ear. I'm very sensitive to flying. It bothers my ears tremendously. I've been cleared to fly by my ENTs, and I really want to see how this works, because if I can fly from a nonstop from Sarasota, Bradenton to Pittsburgh, and if I can make that trip and I'm able to do it, then I'm hoping this will enable me to start being able to get back out to Missouri, get back out to Utah, and get back on my regular schedule of going to Mormon History Association, John Whitmer, Sunstone, and other events that might be happening. I want to be able to get back out and start traveling again. That's been my favorite thing that I've done ever since I started this channel, was being able to fly out and meet people. And that's still the best way to, market, network with people, and book guests, and you shake their hand, you give them your card. It's still the most effective way to communicate, is face to face. And I really want to get back out there, because to be honest with you, for the last year and a half, I've been feeling kind of isolated. I've had a few guests come by, a few people like David Boyce came by in January of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks. I had another individual come by who has been on my program a few times, and his name is escaping me just because that happens on live, but he's another good guy that came. Aaron, yes, and he's come out here a couple times, so it's nice. And then it was nice to have the Church of Jesus Christ of Bickertonites coming to my Christian community this past weekend. But man, I want to get back out there. I really do. I miss being the umpire between the polygamists and the ex-Mormons, team higher law versus team outer darkness. That's like become an annual tradition for me to be the umpire in that riveting tournament, kickball tournament. I miss. I was able to give a presentation at the Mormon History Association last June, but I had to do it via Zoom. I wish I could have made that flight to Cleveland and seen everybody, but I was suffering. I was bedridden during that time. It was a miracle for me to even be able to give that presentation. But I'm honored that I've been able to give presentations at John Whitmer Historical Association, at the Mormon History Association. I mean, I'm just a guy who lives with his mom in a 50-year-old mobile home, and it's a real privilege to be in these places and to have made the friends that I've made. And to, I spent 2 hours talking on the phone with somebody who's a fan, who's been watching me almost since the beginning. They converted to the church in 2020. And actually, it's a really interesting conversion story. This person is a highly educated, very intelligent person who had some profound spiritual experience and shared it with me, which led to his conversion into the church. He was raised Catholic, was an atheist for 10 years, atheist agnostic for 10 years, and then found his way back into faith. And I said, of all the faiths you ended up in, being an atheist for 10 years, you become a Latter-day Saint. That's an interesting story. Unfortunately, the job he has does not enable him to actually tell his story. But some parts of his story are so interesting. I got permission from him to share some of the stuff that he's experienced, because I think it's really will inform a lot of the conversations. So I made a new friend today. He's a really cool guy. And he's like I said, he's been watching this since the beginning. So he's excited to talk to me. And I said, listen, I'm just a dude. But I'm always excited to talk to new people. I told him, as long as I'm small enough to be able to talk to people, I want to continue doing it. That's one of the privileges, of being small enough that I still can be accessible. My phone does ding a lot, but I've been able to pace myself and focus on my health. I did have a doctor's appointment I went to this Monday, and we're going to do some more blood work and further tests to figure out what caused my sudden hearing loss with the hypoacusis and tinnitus, which for a lot of people would drive you crazy, because literally somebody's screaming in my ear right now as I'm talking to you, and just learning to block that out has been really a miracle in one sense. Maybe it's mind over matter, I don't know, but to just be able to mentally block out this loud screaming noise in my right ear is, on some level, a miracle. And so I am grateful. A lot of good people are out there that are on opposite sides of a lot of these conversations. And what I try to do is to get people on the phone and try to talk to each other, whether it's on Zoom or in person to person, or is somebody who kind of is an in-between for people. And I just want to let people know that, it's really important to remember that we're all fellow image bearers, and we need to be kind and respectful to people. And we need to stop attacking each other, the people's character, and attacking people's families. That of course, I was a victim of that. My mom and I, from an ex-Mormon podcaster, I was personally attacked by a fairly prominent Mormon apologist. But he was a vile, bigoted individual, and I'm thinking of addressing him soon, actually. And I'm thinking also addressing some of the evangelical critics that have been out there. But I've been really patient and holding back from responding to my critics, because I don't want to do or say things I would later regret. I want to do it in Christian love and in charity and understanding, but also strongly be able to defend myself. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes in the chat. If there's anything that you would want me to talk about, any questions you have. China Clay. Okay, China Clay says ex-Mormons still need to remember how not to put people in boxes. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Ex-Mormons still need to, yeah. And then, and Sandy Stone says everyone. I think that we all are guilty of that. I think that we all have a tendency, and I think there's like some of my critics in the evangelical world, they can't put me in a box, and they hate that. And they attempt to put me in a box, and I don't fit in that box. And they tell me that I don't belong in the evangelical box. And I'm like, no, I have as much right to be here as any of you. And I'm not going to be bullied out of the evangelical world because of people's narrow definitions of what they think is an evangelical, which is essentially the people that go to their church and people that agree with them. And that's no way to live a life, and that's no way to do with people. And I would have to say the ex-Mormon community can sometimes be like a religion too, where they excommunicate people and they do put people in boxes. We're all guilty of it. We're all hardwired for that. But China Clay, China Clay says it's why so many of us leave the church. We don't want to be boxed up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting point. That I think that, sometimes people go from one religion to another and don't even realize it. And sometimes a religion that doesn't have any God in it sometimes can be worse. I'm not being overly critical of the ex-Mormon community, but sometimes it can be an environment that's maybe not conducive to free exercise of thought and opinions. And if you say anything nice about Joseph Smith or the church, you just get attacked relentlessly. And I think it's really important that we be a little bit more charitable with those that don't agree with us. And that's including the ex-Mormon community, and it's including the evangelical community, and it's including the Latter-day Saints, and it's including all these different groups. I think we need to be just more humane in how we do things. So, okay, well, it's late here in Florida. I am partially dehydrated, and I'm just like, keep an eye out. Probably as early as this Tuesday, I'll be releasing my interview with Kolby Reddish, who's going to be responding to the Austin Fife appearance on my program. And so check that out. I that's the only thing I have scheduled for next week that I know for sure will be scheduled for next week. But just keep an eye out on this platform. I'm always taping stuff. A lot of interesting people we're talking to. So I'm setting up some new things. Those of you who want to make recommendations, please do in the comments or email me at mormonbookreviews@gmail.com. I'm in touch with a lot of people, and sometimes people get lost in the cracks just because I get so busy. So for those of you who have reached out to me in the past and you haven't heard from me in a while, please feel free to reach out to me again. You can also reach me directly on Facebook Messenger. That's another spot to reach me at as well. Okay, so we're 20 minutes in. That's about what I wanted to do tonight. Just remember, the most important thing is this. Hopefully I'll see you next Friday. I'm trying to make this every week, but sometimes I just get really busy and I'm really worn out by the time Friday night rolls along that I decide I need to take a break. China Clay says, we want good things for you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you, China Clay. So just remember this, the most important thing, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.